What's going on, guys? Welcome back to BlackTideTV, bringing you the best of all things gaming Monday to Friday. Today, we are back on Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I do want to get into some other content this week. At some point, we're going to have another Battlefield 4 video coming out where I'm going to do a Battlefield 1 wish list. I want to do another Destiny video. We haven't done Destiny in a while, and there's some talking in the community about the next add-on content and the next big jump in Destiny, and I haven't done a lot of Destiny in a long time. That was actually a big part of the channel for a little bit. And I just want to kind of start branching out. Like I said, I want to start branching out. That was what we were doing for 1,000 subscribers. We haven't started really doing it yet. It's a lot of work to branch out and get into other games. But for now, we're back on Black Ops 3, and we're doing the Vesper Golden Weapon review. You guys voted for this one in the last Golden Weapon review poll. You guys wanted to see the Vesper over the Argus and XM53 dual review. So today we're looking at the Vesper. I got a lot of comments down there saying, oh, we want to see the Vesper because it's so bad and because it's just terrible. Now you guys wanted to, you know, I got a comment from, I think it was Lone Cap. He said, I want to see because pain and suffering. The joke's on you guys because this gameplay is from when the Vesper was good. I had the golden camo on this thing for a very long time. I don't get my gold camo gameplays before I make the videos. I actually get them a long time. Like, I got them all like the second after I got the gold camo. I went and got the gold gameplay. So this was when the Vesper was still good. It has been nerfed to oblivion and back at this point, so it's not going to be the same weapon that you're seeing in the video. Like the weapon that you'll be using yourselves, not going to be the same as what you're seeing in the video. In the video, I do really well with it. It's a really good weapon. It's not as good anymore, so just keep that in mind while you're watching throughout the video, and that the Vesper is not this good anymore. There was recently a massive nerf that went out and just completely killed this gun. Its recoil is next to impossible to control at this point. It's essentially the worst SMG in the entire game now. So that being said, let's break it down. I actually had to get online and play a few games with the updated Vesper just before I made this video, just to kind of get a feel for how it works now. Ever since the nerf, it kind of killed it for me. I didn't really use the Vesper ever since it got nerfed, just because it was just so bad in my opinion. I think the nerf actually affected its damage a little bit too. Can't remember what happened exactly in the nerf because it's been so long, but they essentially ruined the Vesper. The Vesper was the best gun in the game. It was the god gun, and they realized this, and they hit it with the nerf hammer pretty hard. So starting with the damage, the Vesper is one of the weakest, if not the weakest SMG in the game. It takes around 5 or 6 shots to kill an enemy at medium range, so that's a lot of shots to kill. Most weapons in the game are 4 or 5 shots. Like 5 or 6 shots, you're getting into some pretty crazy numbers. You can even get into 7 shots with this weapon. I don't know about 8, but you can get into 7 shots to kill with this weapon, and that's not good. The poor damage was once balanced with an incredibly high fire rate and a manageable accuracy, which allowed you to kind of spray a barrage of lead rather than actually planning and getting a few accurate shots on your enemies. You could just spray just a barrage of lead and get your kills. You can still kind of do that now, but it's not as powerful now, and it's a little bit harder to just spray a whole ton of ammo at your enemies, just because it's so hard to keep that barrage of lead actually accurate at this point. So the fire rate is still there, the accuracy is not there anymore. If you remember the Scorpion Evo or EVO from Black Ops 2, it's essentially the same gun as the Vesper, except the Vesper just has a new look, and it's the same way. It's like, it's really good in spraying and praying at a really close range, but the second you take a step back, the recoil is going to be such a problem for you. But don't get me wrong, I don't think that this weapon is broken. I think in spirit it's broken, but in the hands of somebody that's really good at using this weapon, and somebody that's really dedicated and a really accurate player, with the right class build, this SMG can still compete. I played a few games just before I made this commentary, and I was getting some very competitive scores. I think as long as you're really dedicated to it, as long as you really try with it, you're gonna have a good time using the Vesper still. I don't think it's that broken. I think it's still usable, but it's just not a god gun anymore. Instead, like, the VMP has taken its place and all that. So don't be afraid to fire in short bursts when you're engaging enemies at longer ranges. The longer you hold down the trigger, the crazier your recoil is going to get with this weapon. It's going to start flying all over the place, going to the up and to the left and to the right, and it goes crazy. The longer you hold the recoil, the harder it gets to control. So if you're shooting an enemy at a longer range, fire in short bursts of like 3 or 4 bullets and just keep like tapping the trigger like that, and you're going to have a much easier time killing your enemies at medium and extended ranges. As far as any other statistics go for the Vesper, it sits roughly on par with the rest of the SMGs. It's got fast reload speed, fast movement, and ADS speed, etc, etc, etc. It's kind of the same kind of deal as a lot of the other SMGs. But that being said, the magazine size, though it is on par with the other SMGs at like, I think it's 30 bullets and it's 42 with extended mags, even though that's on par with the other SMGs, it is incredibly small for this bullet hose because this thing, it just sprays out the ammo as fast as you can go. You're going to need to reload a lot more often, and that's going to be a problem with you when you're using the Vesper. So you'll always want to use some kind of magazine attachment at all times. So that's fast mags or extended mags. Use one or the other or both at all times with this weapon. Reload after every single kill. Never expect to get 2 kills in a single magazine, even with extended mags. And run scavenger, because due to the unpopular nature of this gun, you're not going to find any ammo on the ground for it. You're going to actually have to use scavenger to find more ammo, because you will run out of ammo with this. It only comes with 120 bullets, and you're basically firing like at least 15 to 20 bullets before you get a single kill. So you're definitely going to need scavenger if you plan on streaking, or if you plan on getting anywhere with this gun. You got to use scavenger. Now let's talk about gameplay style and class builds. The Vesper is good for one thing and one thing only, and that's aggressive players. If you don't plan going balls to the wall, like running straight at the enemy, going straight into their spawn or straight into the middle of the map, coming face to face with your opponents, you just don't use the Vesper. Just don't even think about the Vesper unless you're doing that. You got to be balls to the wall. You got to be the most aggressive player that you can be, especially since the nerf with this gun. You got to be going so hard. You got to be getting so close to your enemies. Think of it like a shotgun. Like, that's how close you have to get to your enemies if you're going to use this weapon at this point. So you really got to play extremely aggressively. If you're kind of the guy that doesn't want to run in, you kind of want to camp around corners or whatever, or you want to stay in the back of the map, don't use the Vesper. Don't even think about using the Vesper. You can only use the Vesper if you're going to be an extremely aggressive player. You got to be aggressive as fuck to make this gun work. Now that being said, so you're going to want to play on smaller maps. Obviously, you can be a lot more aggressive the smaller the map is. Nuketown, Skyjacked, or Combine, even though I hate Combine. These are all great maps for it. Or you can even play on bigger maps. A lot of bigger maps have smaller lanes, and they've got tight corners that you can use to flank around and get into your enemy spawn a lot quicker. Bigger maps that have lanes like that have these like little corridors and stuff, you can use the Vesper on those pretty well as well. Now, as far as game modes go, you can basically play whatever you want. That's up to you. This gun isn't really dictated by a game mode. But when you're building your class, you'll want, obviously, to use the typical aggressive kind of perk setup, which, in my opinion, is basically the perk setup that I use on all of my weapons, on every class, all the time. Now that I've done everything in the game, I use this perk setup for all of my guns, but this is the aggressive perk setup, in my opinion. Afterburner and fast hands, so you can move quicker, you can get and boost around quicker and get into their spawn, and then fast hands so you can aim down your sights a lot quicker and actually just maneuver a little bit easier. It's going to help you so much to use fast hands and afterburner, so those are two great perks. As far as perk 3 goes, I like to take Blast Suppressor, but that can be replaced with Tac Mask, Dead Silence, any other perk 3. You can use whatever perk 3 you need. I like Blast Suppressor just so I can stay off the radar, so I can get into the enemy spawn without causing any problems, and then I can just hose them down when I get into the enemy spawn. We already talked about how essential Scavenger is, so make sure you're running a perk 2 Greed and grab Scavenger as well. And you can use, for building your class further, you can use a backup MR6 for engaging enemies at longer ranges. You can use combat axes or any other kind of equipment, but I don't really find them necessary with the setup. I don't run them myself, but you can if you wanted to. Specialist now, something that will give you anything that will give you extra time to reload between enemies, anything that will help you survive a little bit longer when you're in between enemies in the field, because you're going to be really close to the enemy spawn or really close to the middle objective. You're going to need the time so that you can reload. So something like Heat Wave works great, Kinetic Armor, Glitch can also help as well. Last but not least, we need to talk about attachments. First things first, do not never use a suppressor on this weapon, because then you're getting into 6 and 7 and even maybe 8 shot hell. You do not want to take that many shots to kill. Never use a suppressor on this gun, especially since this nerf. A laser can come in handy, but quick draw is preferable. I think you're going to have a better time getting your kills when you're aiming down your sights. Rapid fire is only recommended for the adrenaline junkies out there, and we've already talked about magazine attachments. I prefer fast mags over extended mags. Grip is not a choice. You have to use grip. If you're not using grip on this gun, you're not getting kills with this gun. So just use the grip at all times. And finally, the Flamethrower variant that you're seeing in the gameplay today is using a grip and fast mags, but I've actually added a long barrel to the Dark Matter variant just to give it a little oomph post-patch. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. The next Golden Weapon review is going to be on the Argus and XM53 dual review. That is going to be the last review for Tier 4, and then we're getting into just submachine guns and assault rifles from this point on. I probably should do Golden Weapon reviews on the DLC weapons, but because the DLC weapons are a little bit different, I'm waiting to do those until after I've covered the base weapons in the game. So at the end of the next video, the next Golden Weapon review, we're going to be getting into Tier 5, which is the Pharaoh, and I think it's the Man-O-War. So it's just going to be like, I'm going to put up a poll at the end of that video, and we're going to go between those two weapons, and then it will be the Razorback and the Shiva. Then it's going to just be the M8A7, and then that is it. We can finally get into our camo showcase videos, which I'm excited to do. And yeah, so we're getting near the end of Golden Weapon reviews. I don't know if I'm going to actually include the DLC weapons or not, just because they're so hard to get. I don't have them all yet, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Thanks a lot for watching the video, guys. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little bit about the Vesper. Try using the Vesper. Even though it got nerfed and it's not a god gun anymore, it's still very usable. And if you practice with it, and I just think you'll have a good time with it if you really practice, if you really try with it. Make sure you're just holding down that right analog stick, though, and keeping it down, because this thing kicks like crazy, but it is workable. So that's it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.